new window and then close the video. In the lower right, there's a gear. You can hit gear and then say pop out the chat,
All right.
and then you can close your video window, I think, or just pause the video or something like that, or stop. I think you can do that.
If you guys are ready, I will give my cue for when the audio is done will be this. Got it?
Roger.
So when you guys are ready, I will hit the button
The button for what?
to start the sounds, the music.
Yeah, so I wonder how we're gonna know when the music is done.
Like this.
You
because-
just
Like this.
explained.
This is my. This is the cue.
Sorry.
So just let me know when you're ready, and we'll get started. Fud,
We're ready over here.
Andy, good to go.
Uh,
Thinking about it.
yeah. So, all right.
Ready? Here we go.
Yep.
Self-Destruct Sequence activated. Self-Destruct EMT device 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Self-Destruct Sequence. This is episode 2. It's Saturday, September 12th, and I'm here with my buddies Ronkly and Morfod,
How's it going?
How do you do?
and we are trying for the first time streaming this live on Twitch. So let's get started. It's been a couple of weeks since our last episode. We originally intended to go for weekly, but we got things been busy. But from here on out, we're going to shoot for weekly. So the first thing I'm going to give a shout out this week was for Ronkly's amazing music. He's done some amazing remixes of D1 Level 1 for the intro and Level 8 for the outro. So
So
make sure
much
you
fun
stick
to do.
around. Make sure you stick around till the end. To
Don't leave early.
Yes. Morfod, could you explain what your image here is on Twitch? You're up. He's in the upper right here.
Oh yes. I live a tragic life, really. This what we see here, since I can't stream video, is a picture of my Grendel adapter that I use my Sidewinder 3D Pro. Unfortunately, said adapter was placed atop my vehicle while I was loading it before I headed back from my father's place to my apartment at college. And after the first or second turn away from my father's house, it flew off of the top of the vehicle and landed in the gutter. And I thought I had placed it in my glove box, but my father found this strange white box on the side of the road, took that picture, and sent it to me.
You said it landed in the gutter. Did you find my mind next to it? No.
No.
well, at least it was
But it's okay.
recovered. I mean, you might
Well,
have
it was
lost
recovered, but there's nothing to use there. I actually have the replacement being assembled behind me right now. Much more compact unit, and I'm looking forward to receiving the teensy USB microcontroller in the mail on Monday. So we'll be back in action here soon.
Awesome.
Excuses.
Shut it.
Very nice.
I think we have a correction from last week. You want to take this one, Ron?
Yeah, it was mentioned that Jedi Luke had just kept playing for the last 20 years. Well, it's turned out to not be true. He issued a correction for us saying that he was out of the game from 2005 to 2013. A lot of that encompassing the supposed dark ages of Descent when it was just Rebirth being played. And there was only 4 people or so playing the game at the time, regularly anyway. So, want to apologize for that and shout out to Jeds for.
I think we just, I think we just assumed that how could he have gotten so good if he took 8 years off like that? I think sure we all took many years off, so
Yep.
good on him.
All
And
right.
it goes to show that through the Dark Ages, actually very few people played, and the people who were able to continue flying the flag during that time so that we had something to come back to. That's a real impressive achievement when you realize just how close to dead the game came.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, there was a good period of activity after the source was released. There was D1X, D1X, D2X, lots of development around the turn of the millennium, right? And then I guess things just kind of trailed off. I don't really know what happened there. I don't really know what my excuse was.
I just wasn't involved enough with Descent 1 to remember everything that happened between like 2000 and before I came back.
Yeah, I think I just got turned off from Descent 3 in a kind of a big way. I know we had in our LAN party in 2000, we had there was a lot of Descent 3 being played. My computer was too slow, I think, which was a big part of my problem with the game. I think. I hope that
Pedal faster.
I hope that I hope the same situation doesn't occur to some people now with Underground and needing some modern requirements.
Yeah, I
As
remember
we'll talk about a little bit later.
like the first year or so I played Descent 3, I did so on this computer that was so crappy that I'd get maybe like 15 to 20 frames per second, and that does not translate well to multiplayer at all. Because you think 15, you do like, we'll say 20 frames a second, that's 25 milliseconds in between frames, which is, a few frames is pretty much your lag, your net latency. So we'll talk about lag and latency a little later.
So the original, it was 30 frames, right? 30 frames per second, the original game? Is that true, or was it always 60?
I think it was intended to be. It never had a frame
Intended
lock.
to be 30.
It intended to be 30 in the sense that when it ran, that's what a Pentium could handle at the time, because it was like one of the first few truly 3D games.
Would it go over, or was it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It could
I
go
don't
way over.
remember.
If you play the original today, that thing will have so many frames, you'll have frames popping out of your ears.
There's actually a visual distortion that occurs that's really funny to watch once you get into like above 200 frames per second.
Called tearing.
Well, yeah, you got to be.
No, it's just from the ship bobbing up and down.
Oh, that? Yeah.
Yeah, it looks
Because
like you're
the
on
ship
acid.
bobbing up and down was,
Oh, I think I know what you
frame
mean, yeah.
dependent. Yeah, that's right. Oh, God, I remember that, actually.
Yeah,
It's-
I'm
it's-
sure that was one of the first things that got fixed in the new versions.
But anyway,
Well, let's get into this week's news. There's been a lot of news over the last couple weeks with Underground. So if you haven't been keeping track, they have an awesome YouTube channel. Descendant Studios is the name of the channel, and every Friday they put out about a half-hour video called Wingman's Hangar, hosted by Eric Wingman Peterson, right? And they also put out several other videos during the week, so you should definitely subscribe to that channel. Keep an eye on these videos. This week's news. I think the one we've all been waiting for is just like, hey guys, when is Proving Grounds coming out? Proving Grounds is the alpha version of the game that's going out to the underground tier of backers. I'm still trying to get all these terms straight in my head. Proving Grounds.
and there's just to add on, there is a lot of tiers of the Kickstarter backers that are getting the alpha access that are not underground subscribers. So underground subscribers just a subset of the people that are getting the alpha access.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So,
It is a little-
just to clarify here, this Proving Grounds is the alpha access that is being provided to the underground backers first. Do I get that straight?
That may be true. It may be going
Okay,
to just underground
all
first.
right, just-
I'm not sure. I did not catch that if that's the case.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I would certainly call on them to maybe make this a little bit more clear as to who's getting what, and if you back, because I think Underground is a thing that's their like monthly thing, right? And it's not necessarily related to the Kickstarter. You maybe have to go in after the fact. And
So like the underground, we get like a separate forum. They'll post like teasers of maybe some designs, ship designs, map designs, ideas, whatnot that there's for the undergrounders only. And then every month on a Wednesday they have a design meeting where they sit around the table and we'll be watching live and we can give them comments in their chat and whatever.
Give them hell.
Yeah. I just wish it wasn't at a time that I could watch. It's like right in the middle of my work day. It's like,
Yeah, I haven't tuned in for that yet, so I need to do that. Sure.
But they do.
Do
They
we
do
know how
record 'em.
large the?
If you,
Sorry.
I'm sorry. If you become an underground subscriber, they do record them. You can go back and watch them later.
I'm just curious. Do we know how large the underground backer group is? Do we know that we got like a couple hundred in there, a couple dozen? I don't know how.
I just recently saw a number on that, and I couldn't tell you what it is.
Okay, I was just curious.
I know it's fairly good. It's like 3 digits. I don't know exactly
I'm curious how many people are in that audience that they get to give that kind of feedback to the developers. I just think that's really cool. Just
Yeah, that's cool. It's
Yeah, it's great how much they're involving folks.
absolutely.
I think they mentioned in their video, I think something about another game they had made previously where they worked on some sort of like, game mode that no one ended up playing. They worked many months on this mode and they didn't realize until after the game was out that, they kind of wasted their time on it. So it's nice to get that feedback early, and maybe some of these modes, which we'll talk about in a minute, maybe they're just not worth doing.
Yeah.
So I think the news this week was they are just kind of wrapping up the last few things, such as making sure the game can be patched, because I'm sure there'll be lots of patches that need to go out, and also some sort of matchmaking. I think they're putting in just to get into a quick match type of button. Right now, I think the deal is that everyone who plays just gets in the same game, which probably works fine when you don't have that many people playing. But with a few hundred or so, they need to get into a quick, game with however many players. So that's in there, and also some network prediction code to deal with latency. And I'm sure they will tune that constantly because that's going to be a big. I think this week's video they showed some example of what happens when that goes wrong, and it's pretty rough. So, but I have faith in those guys, and I'm sure that the Unreal Engine even gives you a lot of this stuff for free. I would hope. Hope those guys figured a lot of this stuff out many years ago.
Exactly. It's one of the nice things about working on a framework like that is that a lot of the stuff that would be challenging to create, like for example, Descent 3 created their whole they created a brand new 3D engine for the game, whereas Descent Underground they don't have to do that because the engine already exists. So they get a lot of the stuff that's like skipping light years ahead in terms of development time.
Yeah, I think someone asked in a forum post about VoIP, voice chat, and they said that's not there yet. But I think Unreal Engine just includes like a VoIP, plugin or something that you can just, they'll be able to just get working with minimal effort, which is real nice. Because I think as we've all found out nowadays, voice chat while playing is pretty great. So it certainly beats the old F8 type a sentence and hope someone reads it before the next one shows up.
or voice taunts,
No.
Jeez. Yep.
audio taunts rather.
Audio taunts
I
are
will.
awesome.
I will say though that Descent does have a unique challenge when it comes to netcode and latency, because if these weapons are firing the way they do in the Descent we know, they are slow projectiles compared to the modern Call of Duty shooter, where you get a little bit of leeway in some netcode because the shots are supposedly instantaneous. Instead, now everything's going to be resolving like a Quake rocket launcher. And then you add in 3 dimensions in a much more sincere fashion than just shooting someone above you on a platform.
Yeah, although if you mention Quake, you got to say that Quake hit the true 3D a little bit later than Descent, but he got there. They got there. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But since everyone just uses Vulcan cannon nowadays, it might as well be instantaneous.
No.
Shots, right?
Devil cannon.
Speaking of weapons, they have been talking about basically getting in. I think they showed this week's video the models for the fusion and plasma cannons. So those aren't in the game yet, but they've got the models going.
I was digging the plasma cannon.
Yeah, plasma cannon looks great. They've got the colors right, certainly. Fusion cannon doesn't really look like the fusion we know and love.
Yeah, it doesn't look sharp.
Yeah, I think the fusion cannon should be much fatter, right? It's
Oh
I
yeah.
don't. Yeah. So
It is not a
should strike
delicate
fear
weapon.
into your enemies. It should not. Yeah, I don't know. So maybe that will.
It's a ponderous thing.
I don't call it Daddy Fusion for nothing.
And they mentioned in a previous video something called a laser grid, which if you which apparently is some sort of like smart mine or something that you drop off and kind of will start firing like a turret maybe can fire lasers at other folks. Or is it more like a force field that if you fly through it, you'll take damage? Or does it actually shoot at you? I'm not.
I think what it is it's just a grid, literally a grid of lasers. If you fly through it, you take laser damage. I
Think
call
like
it
a wall of trip mines.
yeah, I call it an AMD, an anti-morphod device.
Oh, I was just thinking about that. It's just if there's anything that's going to blow up the way that I try to sneak up on people, that is going to be it.
Yes.
And that's gonna be a pain to deal with. Very neat though, very neat.
Yeah, I like what they're doing, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more weapons as time goes on. Is there going to be a spread fire? I'm thinking what's missing here.
I don't think they've.
Can't have descent without a spread fire.
Yeah, I don't.
What would
think
spread
they've-
97 do?
Exactly. Well, what would they do what D3 players did? Because D3 never had a spread fire.
Oh, that's probably one of the many reasons why. Oh, no, we're not talking about that.
But yeah, I haven't heard anything about a spread fire yet. I imagine they'll add it. But
It's true though. I don't know that that's anyone's first choice in weaponry.
a few
maybe when
people
you-
are
Well.
pretty deadly with when they don't have the Vulcan ammo. When they run out of Vulcan ammo, their next choice is usually that spread fire.
Okay. I really liked the Helix, which was the D2 like
Wasn't it?
five pronged five, right?
So overpowered.
Or was it
Yeah,
six?
five.
Five. Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
5 or 6, I can't remember. Regardless, it was the spread fire on steroids, and it was
This is like every other D2 weapon. was.
wonderful.
I remember spending hours trying to figure out exactly how to get into that little hidden area in level 2 of Descent 2 to get that spread fire that early in the game. It took me forever to figure it out, but once I did, it was like, yeah, I got spread fire the whole game.
I would
Shoots
like.
your energy though.
Oh god, yeah, it destroys your energy.
I'm trying to think. I think I've only played like one game of D2 since coming back, and it's clearly not. It's. I think. I don't know. I don't even know why, but it seems like definitely people just don't want to play it as much.
It's a question of balance, really.
Morphod played D2 recently.
I really like D2, but I totally get it, but at least I mean 1 and 2 fly the same basically. You've got the afterburner and the crazy weapons, but
Yes, the crazy weapon. We're all familiar with the crazy weapons. The crazy weapons that everybody loves.
because I mean the
Gauss,
Vulcan cannon's not
spear
powerful
shakers,
enough. You need the Gauss gun, right?
Mercury missiles,
I can respect that. That's
flash
the end of
missiles.
it. That's where it
Oh, yeah,
ends.
flash
Then we add shakers, and now we're getting into nonsense. Okay, it's like but mega missiles were perfectly fine. Never mind the fact that I had that mega missile match in Mega Nisa the other night that was just like grinding my nails on a chalkboard. But then you get shakers where let's see, we don't have enough mega missiles. We're gonna have something that shakes your ship in the entire level and throws out a bunch of little mega missiles to follow you. And I swear to goodness, they track harder.
Oh, they do.
You need an afterburner to dodge them, and even if you can't dodge them, you get that blast radius. It's just the stupidest thing. I'm sorry, I'm getting carried off. I think we're gonna do that. I'm gonna talk about that a little bit in some other future episode.
All right, and
Nice.
really no one ever plays with even mega missiles. It's just they are very hard.
It's
They're very hard to deal
a
with.
niche game mode for sure. There are people that do enjoy that type of game. I'm not one of them.
Moving along to other news, they mentioned briefly last week about their plans for the single player campaign. They are working on I think 12 levels. They called it a prologue, Right now, they really are definitely focused on multiplayer because I think that's kind of what we are all uh, going to be playing.
Well, now,
Although they definitely need a strong single player, that's
yes.
certainly important to for people to play. Because if you jump, I mean, I think if new players jump into multiplayer with the likes of most of us, it's going to be bad news for them. So
That's true. And
Yeah.
there was a big uprising during the Kickstarter campaign when they said that no, we're not really doing a single player mission. Yeah, we're focusing largely on multiplayer. And like the second day of the Kickstarter, there was this big uproar of people that wanted the single player. That's the only reason I ever played Descent. You know,
wow.
and so their second video was like, "Is there going to be single player?" And they're like, "Yes." And that's when they said that they're going to have a prologue mission. They would like to do something bigger, a full AAA title type of mission, but that's not their goal initially. They want to prove out that the game is going to work, and then once they're bringing in some good cash flow, that's when they'll start considering working on a single player series that's worthy of the Descent series. Like you had 27 levels plus 3 secret levels in D1. There were 24 regular levels and 6 levels in D2. Even Descent 3 had a few secret levels, even though there were only 15 main levels in it. So, yeah, these campaigns are large, and they're a lot of fun to play. They progress the story. Hopefully, that's what they have in store for us with the prologue and whatever else that may come after it.
Yeah, those are good. Those are a lot of work, but they're definitely very important. They could, I mean, I'm guessing they're going to kind of release, maybe they could release them in little episodic chunks
Yes, yeah.
later on down the road. That would
Wouldn't
be
be bad
cool.
either.
Yeah, I think that would be that not only do you have your multiplayer fan base as the basis of who you're marketing to, but you have an audience right there to see all these episodes coming out. But you also reinvigorate the game with every single injection of new single player campaigns.
And the other Descents, Descent 1 did not really have an expansion. Descent 2 and Descent 3 both had a major expansion that added some new stuff to the game. I remember
Those are
when Vertigo came out.
mostly single player expansions, right?
The Descent 2 one was all single player expansion, right? But the Descent 3 expansion, Mercenary, introduced the Black Pyro, which was a brand new thing.
Right.
And it was, there was pretty controversy because it's like, oh my god, we have these 3 ships, they're somewhat balanced. You're going to bring in this thing that has all this BS, like double missiles and insane microwave and stuff like that. But people got over it, and Black Pyro found its place.
Yeah, I definitely didn't play enough D3, so that's on me for sure. That's cool though. I think another thing that the Descent Underground folks have going is sort of a ongoing goals for additional backers who join in. So every couple of $1,000, there's a new thing that gets unlocked. So the current one going right now, that's sitting at about nearly halfway there, 42% is the torch, unlocking the torch ship, which I think just means that is going to be part of the game. They'll be including that for everyone, right?
I don't know if they're including it for everyone, but I do know that everybody that has backed the project at a certain level up to that point will get the torch.
Right. So there's just about another 15,000 left. So I'm sure they'll hit this no problem.
Yeah,
and
they
this,
already hit the shaman at 625,000.
Right, and the
they
next
got the warlock at 675,000. So they do. Have
that's
more
coming
goals.
in next after the torch is the warlock, right? And then we're gonna have all of our Warcraft character classes. What's next?
seems like
The
it,
mage. Yeah, no, that's cool though. I hope we get to include some demon.
Let me show you what I can do with fusion.
Nice.
There was a lot of talk this week about game types. They mentioned I think 3 new ones that I hadn't heard before, which seems pretty ambitious, but also pretty cool. We've got our normal anarchy, team anarchy that we're used to. There's going to be a mode called Capture the Core, which I think is probably just a standard capture the flag.
Have they
style.
talked much about that?
Not really. I just going by the name, I'm assuming it's a CTF
I hope it
type
is
of thing.
because
That would make sense.
Descent,
That would be certainly what you'd build after Anarchy.
yeah, Descent 3's CTF was the most popular non-anarchy mode for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And Descent 3 had more than 2 teams. Is that right?
Yeah, you could do up to 4 teams. The
Yeah, I
map
wonder if
had
they're
to
gonna have
support
that.
it, but it was possible.
Yeah, I'm not sure what if they're going to have more than 2 teams or not.
Uh,
They mentioned in passing something called King of the Core, which they're considering. This may not be an actual game type, but
That sounds like
that's probably
domination.
just sort of like a domination, hold
Yeah.
the control point type of mode that's in many other games.
Camp the Spew.
And who knows? Maybe Unreal Engine even includes some of this stuff. You can just kind of pull in because they've got domination mode in there. Something called Minor Mayhem, which I have absolutely no idea what this could be. They didn't mention that what that is. So, but they
Sounds like
dropped the
pure
name.
chaos.
All of the little robots, all the drones have gone mad, and it's a cooperative deathmatch.
It's a Robo Anarchy.
Maybe.
We saw the other night. We tried playing an 8-player Robo Anarchy in some crazy map, and it did not quite go as well as we had hoped. There was so many robots you would, and then people got upset if you killed the robots because they wouldn't come back. But if you didn't kill the robots, you basically got instant killed every time you spawned. So,
As a side note here, this actually spawned a rather large discussion about Robo Anarchy and its place in the current Descent game, and how bad it is in terms of you don't get any credit if you kill the robots. The robots go away and they don't respawn. It's hard to get weapons, stuff like that. And they're actually thinking of maybe in the future modifying Robo Anarchy in the D1 source port to try to make it better. I would imagine that there's bigger fish to fry currently in D1, but it would be interesting to see if someone could get a Robo Anarchy mode that would play in a style that wouldn't be as bad as what we experienced the other night.
yeah, that mode was completely terrible. Although it could have been the map may have not been the best choice. But
They went into Descent 1's mission, the main story.
that's
mission
true. You're right.
afterwards
That's right. We did do
as
that.
well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my game crashed out and I couldn't rejoin it for whatever reason.
Yeah, I had
so
a lot of crashing problems too. There might be some other bugs lingering in that mode. Who knows?
It was
Back on
interesting.
topic.
It was good to see it get played at least.
Yeah. So who knows what Minor Mayhem will be? It could be something like that, or not. Who knows? Maybe they'll talk about that more in a future video. And then the last mode they talked about is really an interesting one. They are calling it Hot Rocks. I'm sure that name will change. This mode is going to be kind of like a sort of a kind of soccer / rugby mode where you've got 2 teams and you're passing around some sort of like hot potato they called it, or molten rock or something, where if you hold onto the ball too long, it'll damage your ship or kill you outright. So you have to pass it between your teammates, bounce it off the walls, and maybe throw it into a goal at the end of the arena or something like that. So this sounds pretty cool.
Like Rocket League for Descent.
Yeah, it's kind of like Rocket League with a little bit of a take on you can't hold the ball for too long. That should be pretty interesting. Lots of opportunity for some good teamwork.
Descent 3 had Monster Ball.
That's true. Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. This sounds like that takes that concept and kicks it up a notch in terms of the type of action that you would have to to be able to pick up a ball. Well, if you're holding on to it, I imagine not only do you have the threat of the ball exploding in your face, some people might just decide, I'm just going to kill you for that ball.
And there might. So speaking of that, this mode may or may not include weapons, or maybe that'll be an option. If you've got, because in a game like Rocket League, there's no way to hurt the other player. Well, actually, that's not true. You can explode the other players if you boost into them or something, right?
Yep.
But maybe this mode will just be. Maybe you could actually just throw the rock at someone else right as it's about to explode. That might do something. Cool. Or if there's a timer on it or something like that.
Talking some Bugs Bunny stuff there.
Yeah.
And it would be interesting if I think this kind of mode really probably should be played without weapons. But maybe there could be some kind of a weapon I think the kind of idea I was thinking about is you could maybe the only weapon you have is just something that pushes the ball away towards the goal or pushes other players away from you. You could kind of like a force field or something like that might be your only weapon. Who knows? Should be pretty fun.
Very interesting.
So I was really glad to see them talk about that mode. I can't wait to play that. And the last little bit of news from this week it was about system requirements. Someone had asked, and they are pretty steep as you'd expect for a modern Unreal Engine 4 game. I think the word is they were kind of talking about what you would need to play the game at 1080p 60 frames at minimum settings, which would probably be instead of minimum settings, you probably would run the game at just run it at a lower resolution or something because minimum settings probably look pretty bad. But they said a GTX 550 and an old Core 2 Duo, so pretty reasonable, 5-year-old PC or something probably. So it probably won't. You probably be able to get into it. What's 550? So that's five plus years, right? I mean that's pretty old.
I wish I could translate these NVIDIA cards to AMDs and see.
Oh man, yeah, I have no idea.
I'll get on that for next week.
There we go. See what the AMD settings are like.
And medium settings, they mentioned a GTX 760, which is still a pretty beefy card. The kind of the budget card nowadays is the 750 Ti, which is about a 100 and probably a lot less than 150 now, maybe 130, $140 card. I think with a card like that and pretty reasonable Core i5 or something like that, you would be in pretty good shape. And if you want to run high settings, they didn't even talk about this, but high settings, I'm going to guess, is you're into the 900 series cards or the current crop of cards. If you're looking for a card, I would probably recommend, I'm not sure what the price is, but there's a new card that just came out, the 950 series. That's a more mainstream than the really high-end cards. But remains to be seen. Maybe don't upgrade your video card until you get your hands on the game and see how it runs for you. Might be surprised.
I just like how they cycle through some companies cycle through their names. So I'm looking at GeForce TI, and I'm like, goodness, I had a GeForce 4 TI 4400 back in the day. Like, no. We're about a decade out now.
Yeah, I remember I bought an 8800 or something like this, and now now the numbers are much smaller than they used to be.
I remember when AMD hit the 9000s, and the very next one they came out was the X series. So instead of 9000, it was X number. But
We're not even bothering.
Yeah, now they've changed it up so much. They've got like R2 and stuff like that. It's just pretty confusing.
I'm glad I'm not in their marketing team.
Yeah, it's a mess. I usually just, when games don't run where I think they should, I just go to, an Antec, Tom's Hardware, whatever, and say, what's the best card that I should buy right now for my budget. So yeah, I'm trying to think of any other Unreal Engine 4 games that are out right now. I'm sure there's some, but they are definitely going to be pushing the cutting edge, which is good.
Absolutely.
So that's it for underground news this week. That covers kind of this weekend, last week. Do you want to talk about this next item?
Sure. So some people may have heard of the name Spoody Biscuit. He is a speedrunner. Actually, we talked about him last week, where at Awesome Games Done Quick this year, he did a Descent 2 speedrun, was it? I think it was Descent 2. There was a Descent 1?
Oh, it was, I think it was, oh man, now I think it was 1, wasn't it? Now I'm not sure.
Well, her Descent, his Descent 1 speedrunning, he's done a lot of that, and now he's actually going to show people how he does it. And he's put out a speedrunning video series over on YouTube, which we'll highlight on our website after the episode. Basically, he's got a couple of introduction videos, and then after that, every video is like, there's a video for level 1, there's a video for level 2, there's a video for level 3, so on and so forth. and he's up to level 6 right now, and he does like about 1 or 2 every week. So definitely check this playlist out if you're interested at all in speedrunning.
Now he's breaking it down in these videos, correct?
Right.
Like he's showing you like you know that this robot's here, here, and here, and this is the order you got to go in.
Yeah, pretty much. He'll
That's neat.
He'll go over that. Like for instance, his level 1 speedrun takes approximately 25 to 30 seconds. The video is 2 minutes and 44 seconds. There's like really only like 3 or 4 points of like of contention. Like he does this thing that he calls a death warp, where he gets the blue key or the red key, and immediately dies where the red key is. And he leaves a spew behind because the red door is right to the left of the entrance. So it's faster for him to die, respawn, and take the door than it is for him to pick up the key, go all the way back from where he came, and go through the door that way. So things like that are what he'll explain why he does it, when he does it, so on and so forth.
And my last question, is this a pure speedrun or is this like a total speedrun? Is it finish the level as fast as you can or finish the level while killing all the robots?
No, it's kill it as fast as you can, what's known as an any % run, where you can die as much as you want. You don't have to do an all clear or anything like that.
And that's canonical, because if I blow up the reactor, the whole place is going up in smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, and feel free to go and put up your own 100% speed run. I'm sure that they would love to have a video in that category.
Yep. And just one more thing I wanted to mention. Last night, I actually got a chance to play the latest build on GeoCore. The single player, I can't really call it a mission because it's just basically a randomly generated, procedurally generated space station with a bunch of robots in it. The texturing's getting better. But it's definitely in the early alpha stages. It's got a long way to go, a lot of polish needed, but it's I think it's moving in the right direction. I remember playing a net game a few weeks ago, and it was very playable. Everyone enjoyed it, so hopefully, if DU doesn't work out, maybe GeoCore will get online soon.
I think it is good to see the genre getting some other small indie games coming out. The other one we mentioned, I think, last time was Sub-Level Zero, which was kind of a Oculus focused.
That got delayed to October, by the way.
Yeah. It was just sort of a hackathon kind of demo that is getting made into a more full-fledged game. Looks pretty cool. Can't wait to play some VR in Underground and
absolutely
and Sub-Level Zero, and probably GeoCore too. Got to add VR these days.
All the cool kids are doing it.
So why don't we take a quick break? I think we have a little bit of a thing that Morphot has made for us here. We can put this in.
It wasn't me. I just had a friend over.
Oh, okay. All right.
My friend Russell's. Jimmy Russell's.
Do you want to introduce this at all, Morphot, or should we just go?
Just let it roll.
All right, here we go.
You know what really charges my fusion? Lag. I don't mean latency, this is descent, right? We know how to shoot at 250 milliseconds. Some of us remember getting smacked around by the players overseas with nearly half a second ping, but at least they received our packets, right? No. I am talking full-on, teleporting, bursting, whiplash, loss-littered lag. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know the game is laggy. You have the sorry SOB lined right up, and you've gone through enormous mental pains to calibrate the lead point the entire game. You have his sorry keister lined up at such an oblique angle against the corner that it would take the intervening act of the sweet Mother Mary to save his precious pyro from being mutilated into so much molten plasma. You have quad 4 lasers loaded, 2 smart missiles, and a homing missile, and sufficient irritation to dispense all of them into his backside as an insurance policy for having to send your packets across a continent or an ocean or whatever. Your target's primed, and you unleash 8 shots of lasers, 3 missiles, all with their homing complements, belch out of your carefully positioned ship, painting the entire corner with utter destruction and hatred. You hear the claims. You may even hear an unpleasant curse on the voice channel, but something is wrong. Something is so very, very wrong. He's not dead. He is still flying. How did he do it? You had a highlight reel moment. You planned your attack. You gathered the missiles. You lured the enemy in. You had the angle. You consulted the source code. You ran the vector calculations on Wolfram Alpha. You even shook the magic 8-ball on your desk and you kissed your lucky rabbit spot. And he still gets away. He had the perfect amount of whipsawing latency at that particular moment. Lost dropped one of your smart missiles and he gets away. He gets away! And then you see the Claude's smug smile through his windshield as he fires a flare into your ship and he asks, "Are you okay, buddy? I thought you lagged out for a second." And that is what really charges my fusion.
That's awesome.
Yeah, great job.
I do not know whether there was alcohol involved in that or not, but there was definitely a lot of previous games with AOD high, and a fella I play from Japan.
Oh, man. Did we lose more Fodler?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there he is.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I
Did I not send the last couple?
I trust that we will hear future installments.
Jimmy's comes over every once in a while. I'm certain he'll have more to say about the game in future weeks.
Awesome.
Very nice. Very nice. All right.
We do have Jedi Luke in the chat here. He did mention, talking about our Robo Anarchy discussion earlier, that Dracona is working wants to work on and improving that, as you mentioned. So
very cool. And like I said before, last episode, I believe, it's very cool that we're still 20 years on, iterating on the source code, making the game better, and just making the Descent experience the best it can be for the modern game. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think the trend of open sourcing your old games. I'm not sure who started that. Was it John Carmack with Doom or something?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that trend was really key, and because really, if I was John Carmack and had written the Doom engine, I couldn't wait for people to look at my amazing code and just for the previous generation of games. So I think getting that code out there, letting people hack on it, and it's proof that there's always someone out there who loves your game enough to keep things going. Just look at the crazy things people have built with Doom and the Doom and Quake source and Descent, of course. So well done, Mr. Carmack. Let's move on here. We've got who wants to talk about the Rangers interview this week? DCL also.
Oh, yeah. So tonight, actually, it's happening pretty soon, actually. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Whose Guide's going to be doing his fortnightly weekend-themed night. And the next is something called Bounty Mode. I've never even played Bounty Mode before. Either of you guys know about that? What that is?
So I'm definitely the member here who knows the least about how the Rangers work and what these actually are.
Well,
so
this is a game mode in I believe Retro.
Is it really?
I haven't a clue. I sincerely do not know what Bounty Mode is.
Yeah, I think I'm going to show up tonight just to figure out what the heck Bounty Mode is.
Now
that shows what we know.
Yeah. So
well, maybe we'll report on that next week.
Yeah. Whose Guide's been doing this every 2 weeks for a while. So, like I said, the next one's tonight. The next one will be on the 26th. So definitely check that out. That's at DescentRangers.com.
And so if you wanted to check these out, if you're say a player like myself who is not part of the Rangers, is that even something that you could visitors can hop in and check it out, or is it kind of a closed event?
The Rangers events tend to be close, but joining the Rangers is not something that's difficult. I kind of struggled with whether or not that was something I wanted to do when I first came back, and looked at all the other options that were out there and decided there's no other options. So I just went ahead and joined, and it's good for getting a lot of different games in every once in a while. I know Sirius also has been doing single-player missions as well. On some Saturday afternoons.
Co-ops?
I don't know when the next one of that is, but we should be seeing some of that coming up soon as well.
You mean co-op single player?
Yeah,
or co-op.
Sorry, yeah, co-op.
Right.
Absolutely. So, yeah,
Cool.
very cool.
And yeah, I mean, then the next kind of thing that well, why don't you go on and talk about I guess the status of rankings.
Yeah, of course, the Descent Champions ladder is the competitive ladder. It's open to everyone. Basically, you play one-on-one games. Games are to 20, best out of 2. They have rating systems to basically your scores after the game determine what rating you get, and your rating will is basically described by a color: bronze, silver, and gold. And as of right now, we got Mark 392 at the top of the gold division, although he hasn't up until when I originally wrote this, I was writing this assuming that we were only going to have a week between episodes. He had been completely inactive for the month of August, but he's been playing in the last couple of weeks. Still doing his thing. Jedi Luke and Dracona have just been playing the heck out of each other for the last I don't know how long, and Dracona took 2 off of him, but we're counting over 30 games here, so Jedi's definitely dominant in that series. On the silver end, Rethink actually got demoted to silver after playing a Descent 3 game with Lady Silver. She lost 20-17, but the way that the DCL works is your rating is dependent on your score. If someone who's bronze, like Lady Silver, puts up a high score on someone who's gold, that person who's gold is going to lose a lot of rating points, and therefore he lost enough to drop down to silver. So he's sitting at number 4 on the ladder, but he's the top silver pilot now because he got demoted.
He'll be back to gold soon enough.
He will, I'm sure, as long as he doesn't show up drunk.
So there's almost 2 levels of ladders going on. There's the kind of main ladder, which is just a straight up ranking, and then within that you've got the different bronze, gold, silver. Is it just the 3? Bronze, gold, silver?
Right. It's basically a classification of the consistent quality of the opponent.
Yes. So if you see someone who's silver who is high up, that probably means that either that they've been high up for a while and just got wrecked in a game that they shouldn't have, or they play kind of average, but they happen to take a game off of a high pilot. In this case, it's the former for Rethink. And then bronze, actually, I think Morpha, did you put this on here about?
Yeah, I put this on. Entropy played Bahamut. Bahamut is a talented gold level pilot, and his Bahamut's home level is Black Rose, and he's very, very good there.
Oh God!
Entropy, who is one of the top bronze pilots, did back-to-back games in Black Rose with scores 20-16 and 20-17. Entropy didn't win, but the fact that he was able to put those scores up 2 in a row that close against that strong of an opponent was pretty remarkable.
That's amazing. I think I've only ever gotten 5 on him.
Oh yes, and it was we actually got to watch the demo of that, and I have to say that Entropy's playing has significantly improved. I don't know what was up with Bahamut that game. It was definitely not, he wasn't on top of things, but Entropy definitely punished him for it, and it was a real treat to watch.
Oh, very nice, very cool. Melvin's no longer bronze. Shout out to him. I guess you're responsible for that, Morphod?
No, I'm not.
I don't know.
I held him to 13 when he was. I held him to 13 when he was bronze, and then he goes up and he smacks Watts up a little bit, and all of a sudden he's silver now. Actually, I'm pretty certain that Melvin's consistent scores against me over the total series, over our total series, has bumped him up into silver because he's responsible for a number of my bronze losses. Melvin was supposed to be at silver anyway, but he just decided to play a bunch of really, really good pilots that smacked him up so hard that he got put back down to bronze anyway.
Yeah, and I remember at the LAN I beat him pretty good too, 20-13 in Junebug. So yeah, there's definitely
maybe if I didn't have like 3 or 4 beers before I played him, then.
And then the top round spot has been changing pretty frequently. We've seen Entropy, Colo, Lady Silver. She actually beat me to take the top bronze spot back when I was silver still, and I switched from keyboard to mouse and subsequently just went bronze pretty much instantly. And she beat me, but then she held her spot in consecutive games against Watts before he finally beat her and took the spot back. And Watts is currently the top bronze. I almost beat him the other night in a fusion match. I was pretty impressed with myself, considering that I got beat like 20-3 by Lady Silver one day when I first switched. So, and then we got something called the Summer of Hate. How's that been
Just
going?
a couple of notes on the bronze before
Oh,
the summer I hate.
go ahead.
Colo, I was doing pretty hot for a while there, but he's kind of fallen off the face of the planet. Anybody know where he ran off to?
I don't. He was pretty excited after that LAN. He really wanted to keep playing some more. He showed up for a little bit, beat me a couple times, and then just disappeared.
And also a shout out to P Funk, who is also putting up a number of excellent games as of late.
Oh, he was a tough cookie to play. I played him in Logic, and he seemed to know exactly where I was going every time. He's gonna get good. He'll be challenging for that top spot soon.
There's a lot of good action on even the bronze tier of the DCL. So if you think that there's not something for you because I'm not one of the best players. No, we've got action on all different levels on the DCL.
Yep.
And the DCL, I don't know if we mentioned it yet, is descentchampions.org. Mm-hmm. And check all this out there, and it's very easy to sign up and get some games.
So Summer of Hate, how's that been going?
Oh, it's been going just dandy. The Summer of Hate. I concocted this really, really foolish idea at the beginning of the summer. This is my first season on the DCL, and I looked at the number of games that Gold was playing bronze, Gold was playing gold, bronze was playing bronze, but there wasn't a lot of silver matches against other silver pilots. So silver was very inactive and wound up playing pilots from other tiers more often. And that kind of made it a bit of a mess. But I drew up a schedule with some of the pilots I've had some pretty fierce matchups against in silver. Well, they were silver to start this season. And we're winding up the season here. We're going to be, what is it, the end of September? The DCL is going to go to their fall season. So I only have a couple weeks left. But since then, I have accumulated no less than, goodness, I do believe it's 5 Nemesis. Roncley's listed as a Nemesis, Melvin, Rye Guy, AOD High, and Strife, all from the Summer of Hate. We're playing dozens and dozens of matches against great silver pilots, and my goodness, some of the stuff that has been thrown at me, people have been deliberately trying to get under my skin. They're successful, and I hate them for it.
I think Descent needs more love. I don't know. Maybe we'll have the winter, yeah.
Winter of Discontent is what's coming up. Winter of Discontent.
Oh, boy.
And I am going to be calling up every single gold pilot I can get a hold of.
Look out.
Winter is coming.
Coming with his hate can.
But yes, as soon as I get my joystick adapter up and running, the showdown with AOD High is coming. And we're gonna end this season with a bang.
So how many more overtime games are you gonna lose to him? I think you lost a couple more
Shut
since
up.
the last episode.
Shut up!
Overtime games are great.
they're
Great
awesome.
to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Speaking of watching, I know last time I mentioned this website I'm excuse me, working on called the Descent Demo Archive, and I made the horrible mistake of committing to a time frame in our last episode. I'll have that done by next week.
No one ever does that. No.
That's a
programmer
horrible
has
thing to
ever
say.
missed a
So don't
deadline.
ever listen to me when I commit to things such as this. But it is in the works, and we will soon have a place soon, in quotes, place to for all these amazing matches that you hear about. We'll be able to link to them and
I can't wait for that. That's
yeah, that'll be really nice to have. Yeah. So I am actively working on this. Don't worry. And if anyone would like to help out with like the design or graphics or something like that, that would be great. Send me an email or something. Ron, what do we have for this week's highlight of the week?
Well, of course, we had the LAN recently in Denver, and from that LAN, Draconis started to put together something that she calls the Great Pilots of 2015. And this is a series of videos on YouTube where she highlights the best pilots and their best plays. And right now she's got videos for Jedi Luke, Mark, Loney, and Dracona as well, who, by the way, very deserving of having a spot on that list. So definitely check that out. I mean, there's some great play on here. it's scary to watch.
And you don't have to wade through either since it's just a highlight reel, right?
Pretty much, yep. The videos average about 6 minutes, and they're all pretty cool to watch. So definitely check that out over on YouTube.
Yeah, we'll have all these links. Will be posted on our website along with the episode in the notes there. All the links to these, all the stuff.
And I think what I'm going to do at some point this weekend also, we'll go back to our Facebook page at fb.me/SDS podcast and post links there as well, so you can check them out on the Facebook page.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So I guess we're kind of wrapping up here. We don't yet have a solid time slot for recording.
Sorry.
We're gonna try for this sort of afternoon on Saturday or possibly Sunday time slot. I'm sure very soon we'll be able to nail down a time for those who'd like to tune in live and watch and listen/watch and join us in the chat for questions and corrections. I know Jedi Luke stopped by today to make sure we didn't screw up.
I did.
So thanks for that.
Thank you very much. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, watch our face. I think we'll post on Facebook for sure, and subscribe to our Facebook page, follow it, whatever you do there. Subscribe to our Twitch channel, which is SDS Podcast, and we'll let you know when that's going to be next week. And it will be next week, right, guys? We're not gonna slack off again. And I miss a week here.
We even have a YouTube page, but unfortunately, the way Google is, we don't have a URL for it, which is terrible. And the one they want to give us is awful, so I'm working with their support. Hopefully, we can get something reasonable very soon.
Hey, we're very happy that you were able to join us all today here on Self-Destruct Sequence. If you have something that you'd like to mention to us, why don't you drop us an email at emails at selfdestructsequence.org. We'd love to hear from you. If you, we'd be happy to respond to you directly, or maybe just you have some good comments for us to share on the show. If so, please leave us your name or handle, or state whether you wish to make an anonymous comment. Certainly, maybe you have some words of encouragement for my buddy Jimmy Russell's here. He could use a little bit of encouragement.
Very nice.
Other contact info we have our Facebook page. We have Twitch at SDS Podcast, Twitter, which is SDS_activated. And do we have SDS.org competent and running?
Well, yeah, selfdestructsequence.org needs a little work in the color front, but I think it is mostly there. You can leave comments there on episodes.
That is selfdestructsequence.org, not my bad handwriting here. Excuse me.
Yeah, I shortened that there, and unfortunately we lost. We don't have SDS podcast on Twitter. Some other horrible podcast has taken that from us.
Damn it.
So, yep. Check us out and all those places, and be sure to send us emails. We didn't get any emails this week, but we need to change that for next week. Send us some emails. And we are in iTunes. You can find us in iTunes at bit.ly/SDS_iTunes. That's our will be linked to our iTunes thing. To subscribe there. Please leave us a rating and/or a review. Those are very helpful for getting the podcast up in the rankings over at iTunes.
Cool. And of course, if you want to get back into the game, there is a very informative page over at the Descent Champions ladder. It's descentchampions.org/new_player.php. It explains what you need to do to download the Rebirth Retro installer and to get up and running. So definitely check that out, and hope to see you in the mines. We got anything else this week?
I think that'll do it. Why don't we just cue up our amazing outro music?
All right.
And we will see you guys next week. Stay tuned.
Thanks for listening. Love to have you guys here.
Goodbye.
Thanks, everybody.